We're back, and today's all about soup. 2 5-ingredient recipes, a really easy potato leek soup, and a black bean chili. Both dishes are simple and comforting in totally different ways. One is light and smooth, and the other one's bold and hearty. These are the kinds of meals that help you save time and money, but also give you a way to use what's already in your fridge and pantry. That's kind of the goal with this whole series. 5 ingredients, back to basics. Because once you've got a solid foundation, you can always find a way to make it more complex, adding more spices, more vegetables, even some herbs if you're feeling fancy. But these recipes work on their own and they're good. Let's get into it. Let's start with the potato leek soup. Here's what you'll need. 2 to 3 tablespoons of butter, 150 grams or about a half of a yellow onion, 500 grams or 2 cups of chopped leeks, 550 grams or about 2.5 cups of diced potatoes, and lastly, 1200 milliliters or 5 cups veggie or chicken stock. The reason I wanted to share this simple recipe, potato, leek, and onion working together, is because the result is just more flavorful than you'd expect from just these 5 ingredients. Let's prep the vegetables. Leeks grow in sandy soil, so they trap grit in their layers. To clean them, cut off the root end and the dark green tops and cut it down lengthwise. Run that under water. If you're feeling brave, you can use the spray and lift up the layers, but afterwards, pat them dry with a paper towel and then slice the white and light green parts into half moons. You'll also need about a half of a yellow onion, which is roughly 150 grams. Peel and chop it. A rough chop is totally fine. But if you're not planning on blending the soup, you might want to go for a more intentional dice. It's up to you. And finally, chop those potatoes. Peeling the Yukon Golds is totally optional. I find it gives it a smoother texture when blending it, but I'm not too particular. I use around 550 grams or like 2.5 cups. You can dice them small if you're keeping the soup chunky, or leave them in larger chunks if you're planning on pureeing it. Either way, try to keep the pieces roughly the same size so they cook evenly. Now we can cook. Heat the butter in a large pan over medium-low. Once it's totally melted, add the onions and leeks. Now here's the key. You're not sauteing it, you're sweating them. That means gently cooking them without browning, just softening the aromatics and letting their flavors open up. Think low and slow, not high and fast. I did this on low for about 6 minutes, stirring constantly so it doesn't stick. When the leeks and onions are translucent and soft, stir in the potatoes. Let them cook for 2-3 minutes so they start to pick up some of that flavor. I'm going to add a little bit of salt. Remember to always salt as you go. Then let's add the stock and a good pinch of salt. Raise the stove to medium and bring the pot to a boil. Once it starts to boil, lower the heat and let it simmer until the vegetables are tender, about 20 minutes. I'm setting my timer right now. You can cover it up if you want, it keeps it from evaporating. Once everything's soft, blend it. Now, an immersion blender works great, or you can use a standard blender in batches. Just be careful, hot liquids expand, and don't fill the blender more than halfway. Look, I did this recipe a few times to get it down pat, and to be honest, an immersion blender would have been a lot easier, and personally, I think safer. So again, please be careful. Now that the soup is smooth, bring it back to a gentle boil. You don't need to cover it here, just let all the flavors mix together. I'm gonna taste it and then season it a bit with a little more salt. Now, if you've got some cream in the fridge, feel free to stir in about 1/3 of a cup. It adds a little bit of richness, but honestly, the soup doesn't need it. Of all the recipes I tasted, my wife really enjoyed the ones that added this ingredient, but I thought it was great without it, plus a little lower in calories. But I will drizzle some so you can see it. Also, adding a little bit of olive oil, sage, and croutons doesn't hurt either. But you get the idea. It's warm, balanced, and satisfying on its own. All right, that was soup number 1. Now let's move on to something a little more rugged, but even easier than the first soup, because aside from opening up a couple of cans, it's all pop and drop. Let's go. This is my black bean chili. Here's what you'll need. 450 grams of ground beef. I just happen to have bison. 2 cans of black beans, liquid included. 1 cup of medium salsa, about 8 ounces, and 250 milliliters, or again, 1 cup of tomato sauce. This is obviously more, but I typically have these larger jars at home, and sometimes they sit in the fridge doing nothing, so I like that I can use these up. And of course, lastly, 1 tablespoon of chili powder. Start by cooking the beef in a large saucepan or Dutch oven over medium-high heat. Let it sit for 3 to 4 minutes before breaking it up. That's how you get the browning. Browning adds a lot of flavor. And of course, I'm going to salt the beef now because you should always salt as you go. Once it's got a little bit of color, break it up and cook it through. If there's a lot of excess fat, you can blot it out with a paper towel and a pair of tongs. It's one of the easier ways I've seen it done. Next, open up the can of beans and pour them in, liquid and all. That liquid's important. It's starchy, it's salty, and it gives the chili a thick, rich base. I use it in my sweet potato quesadilla recipes as well, and it worked great there. You don't need extra stock or thickeners, the beans take care of it. Then add in the salsa, the tomato sauce, and the chili powder. I know I said a tablespoon, but I want you to measure that with your heart. It's chili after all. Give it a good stir and let that simmer on medium heat for about 15 minutes. You know, it seems silly to leave such a small amount of salsa, so I'm just going to dump the rest in. That's because my middle name is Danger. Actually, I don't have a middle name. Anyway, that's long enough for the flavors to meld. The beef is soaking everything up and the beans are softening up just a little bit. And this is a chili, so you can add whatever else you want above the 5 ingredients. Corn, red peppers, green peppers, navy beans. And if you want to build on it with more flavor like cumin, garlic powder, or a little extra heat, you absolutely can. Even top it off with a little sour cream. But the base recipe holds up just fine with these 5 ingredients. So there you have it. 2 soups, one smooth and mellow and one spicy and filling. Both easy to make. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.